Many people struggle with lifelong bad habits and addictions, such as substance abuse, obesity, or chronic procrastination, often failing despite their best efforts. You likely know someone, perhaps even yourself, who started a restrictive diet or an intense exercise regimen only to quit days later when the stresses of work and family life became overwhelming. This cycle of failure often leaves people worse off than when they started. However, there is a simple system rooted in Japanese philosophies like Kaizen, IKIGAI, HARA HACHI BU, WABI-SABI, and GAMBARU that can help you overcome these hurdles. This method contradicts traditional productivity advice by focusing on changes so ridiculously small they seem insignificant, until they actually start to work. This approach is illustrated by the story of Christopher, a 40-year-old warehouse manager weighing 142 kilograms. He was a hard-working family man who had neglected his health for years, existing on a diet of fast food and television. Simple tasks like tying his shoes or playing with his children became impossible challenges. After several failed attempts at intense diets and gym routines, Christopher reached a point of defeat, blaming his genetics and lack of time. The turning point came on a Saturday when he found himself physically unable to stand up after retrieving a ball for his son. Overwhelmed by shame and the realization of the image he was projecting to his children, he sought help from a friend named Marcus, who introduced him to a minimalist doctor named Dr. Yamamoto. Dr. Yamamoto didn't prescribe medicine or a strict diet. Instead, he offered a philosophy. He explained that Christopher hadn't failed because of a lack of willpower, but because he was trying to undo 40 years of habits in just a few weeks. The doctor's first assignment was startlingly simple. Christopher was to drink 1 glass of water every morning upon waking. Despite his skepticism and the feeling that such a small task was useless for losing 50 kilograms, Christopher committed to it. Dr. Yamamoto explained that the water wasn't about the weight. It was about proving to himself that he could keep a promise to himself, something he hadn't done in years. After 2 weeks of successfully drinking water, Christopher's brain began to anticipate the habit, and he moved on to the next step, the principle of HARA HACHI BU, or eating until 80% full. He was instructed to put only half the usual amount of food on his plate and wait 20 minutes before deciding if he truly needed more. This was followed by the introduction of Kaizen, the practice of 1% continuous improvement. Instead of an intense workout, he was told to simply walk to his mailbox and back. This tiny movement eventually grew into walks to the corner with his daughter, who was thrilled to finally spend active time with her father. Through this process, Christopher discovered his ikigai, his reason for being. He realized his true motivation wasn't just a number on a scale, but the desire to be present for his family and eventually walk his daughter down the aisle. This purpose acted as a fuel that outlasted fleeting motivation. Even when he faced a setback during a high-pressure Thanksgiving dinner, Dr. Yamamoto helped him understand the difference between stumbling and falling. Because Christopher had maintained his small habits of drinking water and walking even after overeating, he hadn't failed. He had simply lost his balance for a moment. This journey proves that by focusing on tiny, consistent steps and a deep sense of purpose, anyone can achieve lasting transformation. In a life-changing consultation, Dr. Yamamoto leaned forward to teach Christopher about WABI-SABI, a Japanese philosophy that celebrates the beauty of imperfection and the truth that nothing is permanent or complete. He explained that one imperfect day of overeating doesn't erase months of waking up early, drinking water, or walking with his daughter. This realization shattered Christopher's crushing expectation of perfection. He learned that practice isn't about never failing, but about always returning. This shift changed everything. Christopher stopped trying to be perfect and started trying to be consistent. Alongside this, the doctor taught him GAMBARU, the art of enduring through difficulty. Christopher began to understand that even when he stumbled, his job was to wake up the next day and simply resume his habits because discomfort is only temporary. Over the following months, Christopher relapsed several times during Christmas, at a birthday party, and over a stressful weekend involving pizza and beer. However, instead of giving up, he returned to his morning water and his daily walks every single time. Because of this, his brain learned that a stumble wasn't an end, but a part of the process. By the 6th month, he had lost 23 kilograms. But the real transformation was spiritual and physical. He could finally get up from the floor effortlessly after playing with his son, and he no longer hesitated when his wife suggested a walk. He was regaining his essence. By the 9th month, having lost 35 kilograms, Christopher realized he was no longer a fat guy trying to lose weight, but a man who takes care of himself. His habits had shifted from forced discipline to a core identity. Dr. Yamamoto eventually summarized Christopher's success through 5 interconnected philosophies. IKIGAI, his purpose to be there for his family. Kaizen, improving 1% every day through small changes. HARA HACHI BU, eating until 80% full. WABI-SABI, accepting his stumbles. And GAMBARU, the strength to keep the momentum going on hard days. The doctor emphasized that this was not a weight loss system, but a lifestyle system applicable to any area of life, from finances to relationships. When Christopher went for a medical checkup after a year, his results were flawless. His doctor was confused, but Christopher knew the truth. 1 glass of water or 1 walk doesn't change your health, but 365 days of those small choices creates a completely different human being. By the 18th month, Christopher had lost 52 kilograms. While he didn't have a perfect body, he had something better. The pride of a man who kept a promise to himself. He was now fully present for his children's birthday parties, running and playing instead of just watching from the sidelines. His wife noted that the most beautiful part of his transformation wasn't the weight loss, but the fact that the man she married had finally returned. This change was contagious. His son began exercising and his wife began meditating, proving that transformation grants permission to everyone around you to grow. Christopher eventually became a mentor to others, teaching them to ignore miracle diets and instead start with a change so small it feels microscopic, because if you can keep a small promise to yourself, you can eventually keep any promise. In their final meeting, Dr. Yamamoto told Christopher that he never actually needed a doctor. The strength had always been inside him. Christopher had been practicing GAMBARU for years just by surviving his daily struggles. He simply needed a system that respected his humanity instead of demanding he be a superhero. Today, a photo of Christopher at 142 kilograms sits next to a photo of him at 88 kilograms on his living room wall. It serves as a legacy for his children, proving that change is possible through patience and consistency. The journey teaches us that the problem is never a lack of information, but the attempt to change too much too fast. By choosing the smallest possible change and sticking to it, you stop fighting a war against yourself and start building a new identity, 1 brick at a time.